Today's podcast is brought to you by Quantrix Modeler Introductory Training, teaching the fundamental foundation that you need to become a Quantrix master. Go to gumroad.com/lowercase l/Quantrix training to learn more. Hey, welcome back to another Netcast. I'm Rich Lopez, Quantrix Authority. Sincerely appreciate you joining me today for episode number 176, Manual Calculation of Summary Item Can Cause Down Formula Problems. I have here a very basic model I'm working on. I have a list of widgets, the Billy, Brian, and Arnie widget with associated values. I then have a product called the Mustang, if you will, and it also has a value. If I go ahead and I insert a summary item for these, you can see that my total, if I were to right click here and insert summary, as I've done, so insert summary item sum, I would get total equals the sum summary of D. So all it's doing is it's going out and it's doing a summation on all of these values. If I highlight those and then look down here in the corner, I'll see that indeed it is 100. It's working exactly as I would expect it to work. Okay. One thing to note, and that's why I'm doing this podcast, is if I were to go ahead and insert, say, a summary item of widgets, okay, and I were to do this manually simply by clicking on Arnie, hitting enter, and then say total widgets, if I were to call it that, what I would then say, if I were to write this formula, I would say equals sum of Billy plus Brian plus Arnie. Now I realize that is kind of a two-dimensional, aka lesser program Excel way of doing it. So I'm not necessarily recommending that you would write a formula that way. I'm just saying if you do have a manual calculation, you're going to run into this issue that I'm going to demonstrate. But let's say that total widgets, I inserted a manual item here of summing Billy plus Arnie plus Brian. If I go ahead and I hit enter on there, you'll see that indeed this does equal 30, 20, and 10. Okay. That's fine because indeed this is equal to 60, as I can see here, 60 right here. But the problem is my total now is equal to 160. 60 plus 40 does not equal 160. It equals 60 plus 40. It should equal still 100. But what's happening is this summary item doesn't know that it needs to ignore this total widgets, okay, because it wasn't automatically calculated, or generally it's because it's missing actually this summary function within it. So a better way to do this is simply to go, let me click off widgets here. Let me delete it rather, and delete this. A better way is to simply click on widgets and then go ahead and insert this summary item by clicking on the little sigma up here. And then you can see that indeed this, when I summarize it, it does equal 60 right here. And it's inserted this formula called sum summary of widgets. And then it knows here in the total summary item that this is a summary item, therefore it ought to be ignored. And generally I think what's happening here is because it is using this summary function when it's writing the formula for sum of widgets, that this formula knows to ignore any item that is being calculated using this summary function. Unfortunately, right now, I believe you cannot look up anything on the summary function within the function toolbox here. If that is an enhancement request that I have sent to Quantrix, they need to add that documentation. So hopefully that will be coming out one of these days. But know that if I were to manually calculate this and then expect my total to be correct with a summary item, it would be incorrect. As a rule of thumb, generally when you're doing summary items and whatnot, you need to make sure that you just do it with the automated functionality within Quantrix by either selecting the sigma button up here or right-clicking, inserting a summary item, or if you do end up doing it manually, just make sure that you do throw summary inside of your formula that you're creating. Anyway, I hope you do find that useful. It has this type of writing it manually has bit me and got me a couple times on some more complex models, but again, as a rule, just go ahead and use the insert summary item. If you have any questions about Quantrix, I really do hope that you'll reach out to me at quantrixauthority@gmail.com. I absolutely love Quantrix. I want to make you a Quantrix master. So please join me again for another episode of Quantrix Authority with Rich Lopez.